So welcome back. This is Athena with Gaia Warriors, and I'm here with my very brave friend, Tony Franquito, and they just did something else really amazing that's going to be quite pivotal for the movement that's happening here in the United States, where we the people are taking the power back from the very corrupt government that is actually a corporation posing as the government. And the first thing that the Nevada County Assembly did in our local community is they served the local border supervisors, which is our local county government. They served them papers to resign within 3 days for treasonous acts, and because they also are posing as the government, but they're actually a corporation. And so the next thing that they've done is now they have served the Supreme Court of Colorado a writ of quo warranto.
Good, you're doing a good job there.
And I'm going to find out exactly what this means. So Tony, over to you.
Fantastic, thanks Tess. Yep, Tony Franquito here at Nevada County Assembly in Nevada County, California. And what we've done is we served a writ of quo warranto to the Supreme Court in Colorado, Supreme Court Justice. And we're going to get to that in a minute, and what does that mean, and so on. So what Tessa's mentioned is that it's a corporation. So before we get into this, we really want to go over where our rights come from and where it is written in the law. And it's very simple that our forefathers already did. So I want to lay that out first, and then we'll get into the strength and the power of the quo warranto and why it's so powerful and what a writ is and all of that. So I just want to open up a little bit right here, and I'm always going to defer to the Declaration of Independence. It is the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. This is very important because it's unanimous. There wasn't one that stood out and said, no, we're not on board with it. So July the 4th, 1776. This is really important because it says in here, it defines, a declaration defines the law. It declares, it lays down the law. And the people move by declarations, writs, affidavits, and proclamations and prerogatives, which are directions. This is how we move. We move as the king, we the people. The only thing higher than we the people is God, the creator of all things, and that's where our rights come from. And this is, a spiritual journey that we're on. We're bringing that spiritual life forward, right? And our forefathers wrote this down, and it is actually the law of this land. This is very powerful when we really grasp this. This is where we turn within, we tap in, and we listen to the still quiet voice, and we bring forth that voice, that heart space, and we move it forward. So we say, okay, well, how do we do this? I mean, where is it written? So what can we fall back on and say, well, what's the law? Well, it's written right here in the Declaration of Independence. And it says that all political plans connected with one another, and to assume among the powers. So we, the people, assume among the powers of the earth, just one of the powers, not all of them. Just among the powers of the earth, and separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitles them. This is very important because the laws of nature, like we talked before, if I hold the pen here and let go, that's a law. It's just going to happen, right? Law of nature. If ducks are walking across the road and Mama Duck is out there and the duck's going to run over and try to take her, save her children from the little ducklings from, that raccoon or something, right? This is just nature in action. So it's just natural laws of nature. And nature's God. And nature's God is the creator of all things. Almighty God, the creator of all. And we're all of that. We're all created from something. And that's where we assume the powers of the earth. Earth, wind, fire, earth, wind, fire, and ground, right? So we have all of that. Air, there it is. Thank you very much. I knew I was missing one. Now I know why we're here.
Kind of needed to breathe, Tony.
You can fill that in. I'm glad you're here. All right, so we got, let's see, and the respect, let's see. Okay, so basically what that's doing is laying down the law of America. So it's right there, and it's very spiritual. And right now we know that we're in a spiritual war, right? Because what they're doing is they're trespassing on our rights to life. how many ducklings do you see out there going, hey man, hey, can I breathe today? Do I need to wear a mask? No, it's just not happening, right? It doesn't happen in nature. Why are we any different? No, I mean, we're not, right? So then we look at, it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. And men meaning of mankind. It says mankind in here. It's really who we are, as a species, mankind, rather than human, which is the color of man. And if you look in Black's Law Dictionary, it means monster. So they tricked us again, right? But it's defined right here, so we're spiritual, we're all created equal. Why? Okay, so what does that mean? Well, so that all are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Certain meaning absolute. Not like, certain, you only get this little body of rights and this little, no, you got them all, they're absolute. And they're of the Creator. So that's the laws of nature, and nature's God. So we're all endowed with these rights, period. Okay? So that's really what it is. And now what does that mean? And among these, it says among these rights, not only these, among them. So meaning that there are many more that we're not even talking about. Okay? Because our rights are infinite. There's no way you could list them all. Okay? So I say, okay, well, among these rights are the right to life. I have that right. I mean, I'm here, I was born, I'm a part of this, I have this right that was given to me by the Creator. You call it God or nature, laws of nature, and nature's God. Liberties, or that freedoms that we have, and the pursuit of happiness. And the pursuit of happiness actually means, having ownership of property and so on. This is mine. Don't come over here and steal my water. Okay? You're going to find out how bad I can be when I'm on set and I can't drink my water. So, anyway.
Well, the pursuit of happiness would be many things, right? It would be the right to food, shelter, access to having a place for your family where you can be safe, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Unlimited. That's why they left it like that. Happiness. What's making us happy? What's making us miserable, right? I mean, so this is where we get into somebody may have, maybe threatening us. Well, that ain't making me happy. You're trespassing on my right to happiness here. You're threatening my life. That's not a good way to be, right?
So pretty much most policemen are trespassing because...
Well, yeah, and unfortunately they're not really taught to law. I bet that most policemen probably have never read the Declaration of Independence and been taught that. And that's no fault of their own. If the policemen and the sheriffs really, had the best intentions, I know growing up, you don't want to be a policeman, or, you think the best intentions, you're going to do some great, great stuff in the world, but then they get taught these codes and statutes and regulations and policies. And the policemen really, if you look at policemen today, then it's police. That's the way it is. It's police. It's police. Well, really what they did was they changed the term, because the term was policee. If you look back far enough in history, that means policy officer. So they're really policy officers, and they changed that to enforcers. So they brainwash us with little psychological tricks to enforce something, to force something on you. Why do you need to force something on us when we're talking about the laws of nature and nature's God?
And we're just trying to get happiness,
Don't have to force happiness. I don't know about force. Maybe if somebody forced me to sit down and say, okay, well, we're going to force you to have a beer to be happy. Well, maybe you might not have to twist my arm, but.
Is it like a well-known thing across the people of the United States that this is the law? The law is based on this Declaration of Independence?
It's a really good question, because a lot of people are aware of the Declaration of Independence because they celebrate it all the time for July the 4th. However, they don't know the true meaning. So that's been, let's have a party, let's get together. We declared our independence. Actually, there's a document before this called the Leeds Resolution, which people don't know about, because they came to a resolution to separate from the king. But the Declaration of Independence, people at least have heard of it, and they know the phrase, we the people. So we're really got to comprehend what that means. And as we spoke to before, in the Declaration of Independence, We're talking about the creator, the law of nature, and nature's God. And then us, we were endowed with all our God-given rights from the creator, all our natural given rights, all of our freedoms, everything to bring, that pursuit of happiness and what that entails. Now, what we did as we the people, bringing that forward, and that body of we the people, American people, we brought forth the next thing we laid down in the Declaration of Independence, because it lays down the law. It states right here that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. So, period. There's one function of government, one only, to secure our rights. That means to protect us from harm, from trespass, anything. So anything that comes in conflict with our rights to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, anything that comes in conflict with that is a trespass on our rights, and a violation of the law. And that's a Declaration of Independence, because it lays down the laws of nature and nature's God. It's in violation of that. Period.
And so this is still valid in today. There's not like there's not like another law that overrides this one. This is the foundation that is still valid to this day.
Correct. And that's why they keep trying to say, you'll see government say, well, we're a democracy. Oh, just get rid of that old parchment. It doesn't mean anything, because they can't get around it. It's period. And the only way they can get around it is through not educating us, making us ignorant, ignore it, we don't know about it. And when we do that and we lose track of history, tear down all your monuments, and that's what they do. That's actually part of the communist plan. You destroy all of history, you don't know where you came from, you don't know what the law is, then you're going to have to accept the state, the government, as the law. That's, so this has all been done throughout history, over and over again, not just in America, but right now we're experiencing it firsthand in America. You can't get around it. So this is, a very good question. So when we look at what happens when somebody does step over the right, so now you've got the creator, all of creation, nature's law, and the nature's God, and we have that. Then it goes to we, the people, and we have all of those unalienable rights. Nobody can take them away from us, and we're endowed by the creator, so they're ours. I mean, that's the creation of everything. Right? Then what we did was we created that government, and it's down here, it's called the body politic. And we say, okay, now when they cross the line, there's a contract called the Constitution. So that's their contract. And in that contract, it says you take an oath to uphold this contract, to protect our rights, to secure our rights, as defined in the law. The law first is the Declaration of Independence. So once we have that, and we have that contract in place, and they breach that contract, they go against us, we can notify them, and they're supposed to be correct their direction. But if they continue and they cause us harm, and they're not correcting their actions, that's treason. Plain and simple. The forefathers had been going through this fight through the 1600s, all the way through the 1700s, that brought us up to the 1776. It just didn't happen magically. They've been fighting all along through paperwork, through the courts. And they would go into these courts, and they would file their petitions. They would file, whatever, a writ or anything into the courts, and they would be completely overrun, thrown in jail, take their property, take their kids, take their farms, and outright, some of them, if you didn't quit, they would, just murder them. So this is really what's going on right now. 1776 all over again, 1776 reloaded. So
people out there, if they're, hearing about the consequences of serving these writs, I think a lot of people would not want to risk all of their property and their livelihood. So I think that what we're trying to do here is to empower a lot of people, because they can't do that to everybody, and that's the only way really that we can move forward, is getting the numbers, right? Getting as many people as possible serving these notices and calling out the treason and knowing the rights, like what you said, because people don't know their rights. And I like what you said about it being a spiritual war, because that's what the war is going on, is the war on consciousness, and it's the war on trying to get people to be dumbed down, be distracted by celebrities and Hollywood, being basically dumbed down with what they're learning at school, and not knowing their rights, not knowing who they are as a person, taking their power away and distracting them. And that's what's basically has been happening, putting fear in the mainstream media, putting just all this fear, making people feel like they're powerless in this world. And what's so important about what the work that you're doing in this movement is basically taking the power back to the people by knowing your rights, knowing that you are an empowered person, and that you are an expression or God's creation on this planet. You're an expression of God, because that's where we've all come from, and that's a very powerful thing for people to remember. They are God, and religion has done that too. You know, religion has also made people feel powerless, that something external is going to save them, that they don't have the power to change anything themselves. So it's very, very important, and I really love what you're doing.
No, that's quite a bit of territory you covered there, Tess. But this has been, hundreds of years in the making, and what they've done. So they quite literally took over all the religions. So now what they're doing is, what they're bringing forth actually disempowers people. It leads them, it doesn't teach them the truth of who they are and empower them, and actually disempowers them. So this is, if you look at some of these things like the Dalai Lama, for example, it leads us away from, it's called, false God, false prophets, right? So there were some aspects of truth to it. There's always a hint of truth in the deceiver, so that he can lead you away from your power. And then he deceives you until the capstone. I mean, we witnessed the Dalai Lama, in his pedophilia type of actions that have been occurred. And that goes, with, thou shall put other gods before me. So there are other gods, but we don't want to put other gods before the Creator, which is defined in the Declaration of Independence. So we know we get our power from that, endowed from the Creator of all. So we don't have to mess around. It's given us right there. And we've all been led astray. Believe me, I was too. I wanted to be an actor. Hey, I wanted to be get out there and be in a series, make films, tell great stories, so that I could, empower the people, tell moral stories. And they didn't really like my stories. I was an all right actor. I wasn't the greatest either. So there were plenty of guys out there a lot better than I was. So there's, I really did want to do that.
They don't want stories of moral value. They want more violence. They want more, disempowering, and to desensitize us, keep us in fear, to normalize violence, right?
Yeah, tell us that the FBI is good, and it's nowhere in our Constitution. It actually doesn't even have a corporate charter, by the way. So yeah, there are all these things. CIA, good. What is it? MI6 is good. They're the heroes. Was it James Bond? Oh yeah, but they're not. They were actually there to infiltrate. So false gods, bred in circuses. So to distract us and lead us away from this. And then they took over the education system, which is why people don't know about the Declaration of Independence. There's I think in 1854, I saw a 4th grade exam, the final exam, and I couldn't pass it. There's no way I could pass it. It was asking, so tell me, write an essay about the government in France. I have no frickin' clue. There was no way I was going to be able to land. I mean, and these kids, had to write essays pro and con. So they're teaching them critical thinking skills on how to argue different ways, and really there are always different ways to present evidence, right? And then it went into grammar. There's 9 different ways to do a capital, why a capital is used in our language, and what the meaning of it is. It's not just a title of something. There are other things for that use, and if you look at the Declaration of Independence, you'll see there are capitalizations. This is what I have here is actually a transcribed copy. It's certified. So the capitalization in here is the way it's supposed to be. Oh, that shouldn't be there. No, it's there for a reason. And this is how bad. I mean, I went to college and I don't even know what they meant. I mean, they just made me stupid. be honest. They did. They focused me into this little tiny area. Anyhow, so as we talk about the Declaration, and then we know that rights are being trespassed on, quite literally is a spiritual war. The living Creator, the living God, all that's life here. And then we're going, the corpse oration. The deceiver created the corpse orating, and those are corporations. Now, if we look at we the people, we have the Creator of all things, and we the people, and then we created governments to protect our rights, to secure our rights, and then they created the corporations. That's the order of things in this country and all over the world, really. So when you start looking at the hierarchy, we are up here. God, we only answer unto the Creator. And that's common sense. You don't trespass on me, I don't trespass on you. You don't do me harm, I don't do you harm. Period. Right? Then you get down to the government, supposed to protect those, so they would license, they would allow businesses to function, but if that business is trespassing on the rights of the people, let's say making GMO foods, I think you can agree that GMO foods is, it alters our DNA. We don't know what it's doing to us. Our body doesn't know what to do with it. Putting fluoride in the water is toxic. I mean, you see poison on the bag, right? And they're pouring it in our drinking water. This is not good. Right. So the government is actually supposed to prohibit that from happening, and they're not doing their job because they are a corporation. So what we did here today was we laid out some specifics. The Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution, it calls out what treason is. Right? And now, I'm going to just go over treason a little bit here. And the reason why this is important, because treasonous acts are happening all around us all the time. We just didn't know it, and they don't want us to know it. So I'm going to reveal it. So treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies. The British, it's called the bar, right? Called British Accredited Registry, and that's right. In giving them aid and comfort, no person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act, or in confession in open court. Now this is important here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over what we served to the Colorado. I want to make sure I get this right, because there's a corporation here. And there's a difference between the real state Supreme Court in Colorado and the corporation. So we have the Colorado Supreme Court. Okay, this is Colorado Judicial Branch doing business as district courts for state of Colorado. Okay, and this is important. It's all in caps. When you have something written in all capitals, it's actually not even English. It's not English. It's called, it just eluded me. It's on the tip of my tongue, but gloss. It's called gloss. So, and it's actually would be a title of something, okay? So now, when we look at this, you can identify these corporations by all caps. When you see in all caps, it's an entity. It's a corporate entity. All right, something they're doing business as. And this is really important. Now, what we did was we served the Chief Justice out there with this. And what's called is a writ of quo warranto. A writ of quo warranto. That comes from the common law. That means common sense. And when you look at the laws of nature and nature's God, that gives us common law. And the maxims of law, like we talked a little while ago. 2 + 2 is always 4. You let go of a pen, it's going to hit the desk, right? So this is writ, and we, the people, are the kings of our own court. This is important because we're a republic first. Then we created the Constitution, and that was to keep government in a little box to do certain enumerated powers. We gave them limited enumerated powers to protect our rights, and that's it, right? So now the writ is writ of quo warranto. What that means is under what authority are you operating? Where do you get your authority? So if I ask you, I'm going to try to make something up here real quick. I'm going to buy it a little bit of time, right? So, if I was to ask you, under what authority do you have to demand that I stand up right now? What authority do you have to do that?
Well, I don't have an authority to get you to do that.
You see, right?
Right.
Exactly, right? So that's what it is when we send it to these courts that are disguising themselves as corporations, and I'm going to use this word intentionally, impersonating government and impersonating government officials. This is very important, and I'll tell you why in a second.
I really like what you said there. You said about it's we the people and then it's the government. So that's a very important distinction, because we the people are the ones that are meant to have the supreme say or supreme right over what happens, and the government is hired by the people, and it's been inverted where the government now are trying to have the right or dominion over the people, when it should be the other way around, and it's been inverted, right? So it's important for people to know that.
Yeah, and to add a little bit more to it, they're not even our government. They're impersonating. They're a corporation. So they're a corporation. So I mean, what corporation are you going to walk into? When you walk into, I don't advocate that you go to McDonald's, but if you're going to go to McDonald's, right?
Well, you don't eat some plastic food?
Plastic food? No. GMO? No. You go in and you order, some French fries, right? Does that employee there get to tell you, well, sir, you're buying some French fries from us, so you better sweep the floor? No, right? Where do you get the authority to do that? You don't have the authority to do that. You're a corporation. You don't get the authority to tell me to sweep the floor. You don't get the authority to tell me, hey, I'm going to go sell your house. Who gave you that authority, right?
Right. So the difference, because the reason why they're a corporation and not government is because they haven't done the proper oaths of office, or what is the distinction between making them a corporation and like doing a facade as the government? How do you make that distinction between what would really be government, and how do we know that this is a corporation as
well, that's a very good question. A corporate. Let's start with the government. And government is not a for-profit entity. It is there to protect your rights from trespass. This thing that's masquerading or impersonating government is a corporation, and if you look at their Dun & Bradstreet number, now Dun & Bradstreet is a place where you can go look up corporations and see that that they are for profit. So if they're for profit, how can it be our government, right? And would they be holding your best interest at heart, defending your rights from trespass, if they're for profit? So if they're pulling you over on the side of the road and giving you a ticket, and they're making money off of this thing, and then they go into the court, and the judge, remember, it's a pretend judge because it's a corporation impersonating government. They're not even a real court, they're just a corporation, right? And they don't have an oath to uphold the Constitution. They claim they do, but they don't. Okay? And if they did have an oath, it would be to the corporate charter, to the corporation pretending, masquerading, impersonating government. Do you follow that?
So they're actually getting paid to trespass, really. They're making a profit of trespassing, which that defeats the point of what they're supposed to be doing, is protecting our rights, but they're actually getting paid to trespass on our rights.
That's exactly right. Now, if you walk into a judge, into a court, and you have some conflict with somebody, and the court there is supposed to help settle the conflict, right? You walk in and you present your case. This officer pulled me over, right? And I wasn't speeding, or whatever the case may be. It's not a law. Do you think the judge is going to make money every time you go in? They're going to charge you with something. And we're quite literally talking about spiritual law here, because they're charging. Life is a currency, and everything that they do, they charge your life force with this, right? So quite literally is this, jumping ahead, but it's a satanic order. It's the living versus the dead, and they are charging you the living being, the entity of the Creator with these things. So they're quite literally charging for this stuff. So would that judge be impartial if he was making money off of every single case that comes in?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, how could he be? He's got, 4 or 5 houses and, maybe 5 ex-wives, whatever the case may be, and a boat and, whatever, and a big fat bank account. And he's going to make, $40,000.
Would there be an exception, like a judge that is actually got morals and would do the right thing? Or is that just like the exception to the rule? Or?
Well, that would be an exception to the rule, and they probably wouldn't last too long, to be honest, because they all know the game. Those courts quite literally, I don't want to get too far off track here, and we'll get back to the quo warranto, but they're quite literally human trafficking, and everything is about money. Okay, and it gets a little deeper than that. But in order for that to function the way it does, it takes, the court actually has what's called the chief clerk, and the chief clerk really runs the whole show, because they, at the end of the day, the clerk that you go there, they're like the bank clerk. They tally the money at the end of the day for every speeding ticket, for every traffic ticket, for every divorce case, for everything, even criminal cases that come in. No matter what it is, they're making money on the back end. And in order for them to do that, the court clerk has to be into the in on it, the DA, the judge, and the defense attorney, the lead defense attorney, and the sheriff, because the sheriff gets paid. They're all in this together. That's why we're focusing on the courts now. We did the Board of Supervisors. That's fantastic. The real the person in the Board of Supervisors is their lead counsel, by the way. That's the British Accredited Registry. I say registry, but it's registry, okay? So I say Regis because Regis means the crown, and that's why I like to put that out there. British Accredited Registry, meaning the crown. Registry, Regis, however you want to say.
So basically what you're saying is, in order to get this position in the courts, you and the sheriff, they're all in on it together. In order for them to even get in this position, they kind of have to conform to these kind of rules, and they all know that they're getting paid. So none of these people can claim ignorance or claim that they don't know what's going on, because in order to get to that position in the first place, they have to comply with these rules and know that they're going to make money off it. And the people that have morals probably wouldn't get in that position. They
That's
wouldn't
correct.
get the job.
If they have morals into that position and they do get there and they're doing the right thing, then the legal counsel, the bar attorneys will come in and tell them what to do. And they'll follow it because they've never learned the Declaration, they've never learned the Constitution, so they'll do what they're told.
Right.
There are some people I've talked to, that have been mayors of cities, and they just like, okay, this is what I need to do, and they do it, and they sign the papers, they read through it all makes sense, because they're being deceived by the deceiver, the people who write these codes and statutes, and they think that's the law. Now, if you did find somebody that did have like a judge that did have moral integrity, and he tried to do the right thing, and this has been done in the past, and there are great court cases that are common law court cases, 6 months later, the guy is poisoned. They don't last long, you see? So one by one, if we pop our head up one by one, they're just they'll put us in jail. They'll bankrupt you. They'll destroy your social life. They're doing it now. They'll silence you. And if that doesn't work, then you get suicided. That's how they work, okay? So we quite literally are at war. Now the best part right now is that we are in this great awakening. And as we spoke earlier, we're talking this tumultuous plane that we're going through, right? So we're seeing the spiritual stand up. We're seeing this eagle rise. America's eagle is rising. We are the last holdout across this planet that has not been really fully taken over because of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. There's some other documents in there too, but law, it's in there as well. But those are the two primary ones.
So no other countries have this foundation like America does?
No. That's why. And what makes us powerful is we said freedom of speech, and then right behind that was the Second Amendment. You see, if
the right to bear arms,
the right to bear arms. And if we don't have the right to bear arms, we're like all those other countries, like Australia. They just come in, lock it up. Yeah, they can't protect themselves. That's what they did, like in China. They disarmed them. Once they disarmed them, they just roll right over them.
They did that in South Africa too.
Yeah.
So America really is the last stronghold, and what happens here will really affect the rest of the world. That's why it's so important what we're doing here. And that's why it's important if someone's listening to this to share this, because we need to spread this knowledge really as far and wide as possible.
Far and wide as possible.
Because this is a numbers game really. We need to get as many people as possible knowing this information, knowing their rights, and serving these notices and calling things out as they go, because they can't kill all of us, right?
Right. And this is, very important. What we're talking about is bringing the darkness into the light. When you shine darkness on the light, the darkness can't survive anymore, right? When I shine a light over there into the corner and I'm looking into a dark corner, it's going to brighten it up and everybody sees it. Right. Now, if you get 100 million, 200 million people, 6 billion, 5 billion people looking at it, they ain't got no place to hide. There are a whole lot more of us than they are of them.
Right.
So that's really important. I get questions all the time. Well, I want to see your paperwork work, and when we see people removed, that's when we'll stand and do something. No, you don't get it. I want to be very clear. It's the millions of people that go, excuse me, you're committing acts of treason. I see it now. I see you. They ain't no place to hide. Follow?
Right.
So it's about empowering the people with the knowledge. We're doing the paperwork, and we're going to create some notices that are less complicated than this writ of quo warranto. This is a very much, some of the guys here that have been doing this, people have been involved with this, 20, 30, 40, 50 years experience plus. They're my mentors. I can't do what they do. No, I'm giving you the layman's overview of it. I'm sure somebody could ask me questions on this and I wouldn't be able to answer it, because it took them 50 years to gain this knowledge, right? But the bottom line is, a writ of quo warranto says under what authority. So when we send this to Colorado, and the reason why we chose Colorado is because at the time they removed a candidate from the ballot. Federal candidate, Trump, from the ballot. You can't do that in a constitutional republic. You just can't do that, right? The Constitution holds true. So we were going to say under what authority. Now, since then, the Supreme Court has said, you can't do that, Colorado, so now he's back on the ballot, okay? So that was one reason. Another reason is a bunch of election fraud going on there, and that was being exposed. So the people, the whistleblowers of the election fraud over there are being brought into their courts, and they're being charged with a lot of just made up charges. Okay?
So these are people whistleblowing the election fraud that are now being tried in Colorado as we speak in this time now?
Yep. Now they extended the case out. I don't want to get into the details of that case just for privacy for that particular individual. But the point is that when this is being brought forth, this corporation doesn't want that brought out because it would then empower the people, you see. So now what they do, anybody who's doing good, remember we talked about if you had a good moral judge, right? They would do something, right? Blackmail them or whatever, right? The same thing is if we had somebody enter into government now and they did have moral integrity and they were doing the right thing, they can't have that. So what they're going to do is the bar, the British Accredited Regie, comes in and they make a lot of false charges against them, bring them into their courts, and then once it's into their courts, guess who's there?
The British Accredited Registry judge who's going to make the decision on behalf of what they want to happen.
That's correct.
It's all rigged.
All rigged. So any good evidence that comes in, the judge goes, nah, technicality, you can't have that evidence.
And what about juries? Can we not have a jury come in there?
Well, the thing is that that's a really good question. In their fake courts, what they do is they have a jury trial. Okay, not trial by jury, and there's a difference. They do this word trickery. So you think you're walking into a court of justice. There's a big seal on the back of the wall behind the judge. You know, it's all caps, and it says, you know, the state of California or Colorado, state of Colorado, and it's showing you in all caps. And you think, wow, that's great. I mean, you know, wow, I'm really here. You know, big time. They're going to protect me because, you know, this is supposed to, you know, be the whole upholding the Constitution and my rights. All I got to do is tell the truth, and you get in there and do it, and you find out what I told the truth. I presented evidence, and how did I lose? You walk out going, what the heck's going on here, right? Because the judge makes money on everything that comes in, and there is no justice going on. And they try to say, well, we have a jurisdiction, it's called admiralty, and you know, it's all commercial law. Well, who gave you the authority to drop this jurisdiction in here? That's what the writ of quo warranto does. And says, under what authority? So let me go over this just real quick here. So now we kind of went over we are serving the Esquire. I'm not going to address it at the moment, but Esquire is a title of nobility. Brian D. Boatwright, looks like, right? And it has his ISLN number here, which is basically it's a bar number, okay? And what had happened is now they've gone, instead of being local to the count and to the state or where they're at, they've now taken these numbers and gone like internationally for one world government. So they all go up here. You know, so you have all the countries all back here rather than having the bar locally. So they priming themselves as one world government. So this is the Chief Justice, and we say DBA, doing business as a Chief Justice. Now, and if you don't know what a doing business as is, it's basically a business with another name. So you have one name of a company, and then you're doing business as a different name. So you have it's like sub-corporation almost. So this is very important, and we're asking them, he's a corporate officer of the Colorado Judicial Branch. And this is all capitalized. You can't see this on the camera right now. Perhaps our producer friend over there is going to put that in there so you can see it. It's in the first paragraph. I got a thumbs up back there, just so you know. Right? He's awesome. Couldn't do it without him, so just a shout out to Adam in the background. So let's see, in the form of interrogatories. Now, interrogatories is just basically questions. That's what it is. This is, you know, interrogatory is just a legal, lawful term. It says, you know, under these questions. To compel respondent, in other words, that would be the man, to answer, Brian, to answer and provide satisfactory clarification of the nature applicable operating law jurisdiction. Basically, without getting into too much of just reading here, what we're doing is saying, yo, hey, you man over there, pretending to be government, acting as a corporation, I want you to answer these questions, and you're compelled to answer them. Why can we do that? Because it goes, the creator of all things, life, we the people, then everything else, and I can take my employee or whoever it is down there and say, hey man, answer these questions. What gives you the authority to tell me what to do? Excuse me, right? I'm sorry, I'm hiring you, Tess. You're going to clean this table in my house, and you're going to come over and tell me that, you know, that I've got to sell my car. Like, what? Did I give you the authority to? I only gave you the authority to be able to wipe the table, and that's it, period. Okay. So anyway, so that's basically it. Now, down here a little bit further, I'm going to skip through some of this reading. But it basically goes through and it affirms that we are the master. So where does it give this so-called government official? Remember, they're claiming to be government. That means they're going to have to prove that they are government.
Which they can't, right?
They can't. Not can't. So how you say it? Can't. So you can't. So they are proving, so they can't. So that's what we're asking there. So tell us where you have these powers, because if you don't have these powers and you are moving forward, then this is the most grievous insult to the American body, the American people. Remember, we the people, we are the American people, and they're coming forth and they have no evidence that they're moving forth, right? And they are taking our houses. they're pretending, they're impersonating government, they're breaking up your family, they're taking our children, they're throwing us in jail for crimes, and nobody's been injured. Like, if I'm driving down the road or traveling, word trickery again, but I'm driving down the road or traveling, and I get pulled over for a speeding ticket, I'm 2 miles an hour over the limit, and the cop says, well, you come in, you committed a crime. Wait a minute. Did I harm you? Did I trespass on your rights by going 2 miles an hour over the speed limit? No, I didn't harm you. So who's my accuser? What crime did I commit? You haven't. So they're coming in there and they're giving what's under color of law. Well, I don't want to get too far off track.
Next time I get pulled over, I'm going to say that very thing.
I don't advocate that at all whatsoever. A man with a gun pulls you over. It's an aggravated assault because he has a gun. And he walks up, and then he's threatening you with battery because he's going to, drag you out of your car and take you into, if you argue with him or you try to teach him the law on the side of roads. I don't. Just take the ticket, and there's a way to get rid of that contract, but don't do it. It's not worth it. So anyways, back to these courts. Now, what's really important here is that when they do this and they trespass on our rights under a corporation, a guise of a corporation, meaning impersonating government, that's treason. Period. These judges know it. There's no excuse. They are operating a business for profit there. It's not about the law, and it's 100% treason. And we went over this one other time, and I'll recap. There was, I was witnessing a woman in court, and she was calling the judge out because she didn't have an oath. She said it 3 times to the judge, and the judge just avoided the question. And then he had asked she had asked for assistance of counsel. The assistance of counsel was standing there, and the judge denied this woman assistance of counsel. How can a judge deny this woman assistance of counsel? He took an oath, supposedly claiming he took an oath to protect our rights in the Constitution. So him denying that due process that states right in our Constitution, you have the right to assistance of counsel, and he denies that, that's treason. Just committed it right there. And we had 19 of us who witnessed it. 19 of us. And in the Constitution, I just read it, it said 2 witnesses of the same overt act. That would be pretty overt when he's sitting right there and he denies the assistance of counsel and says, get behind, move away, sir, or I'm going to have you arrested, or contempt of court, or whatever he said. But he was going to have him removed. That means under the threat of arms. So what's he doing? He's levying war on the people. That's treason. Period. There's no, if and but. So this is what we need to empower the people with, the knowledge that that's treason. So when you see it, you go, wait a minute, my buddy and I just witnessed that. You violated the Constitution. This is why the Constitution is so powerful. You got to learn the Constitution. It's very short, and the Declaration of Independence is 3 1/4 pages. When you comprehend that, and that's how to stand on those rights, you see treason every day, just like that officer who pulls you over on the side of the road. He's committing an act of treason. That's an act of treason he's doing. But they've never been educated with the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution. So, God bless that man. We always give the man the opportunity, so we would give him notice and say, hey, look, you're trespassing on my rights here. Please make an amend. I'm telling you, you trespass. Here's the law. You're violating the Constitution. You say you took an oath to this thing. You claim you have. Well, you're trespassing on them. You have the opportunity to fix it. If you don't fix it, you're held liable. Personally liable, your house, all of your belongings, your 401k, everything is up for grabs because there is no bond. I don't want to get too off track there. But all of your personal belongings, are up for grabs. Your car, everything. and then you're criminally liable. Criminally liable. When that officer walks up to the side of the car, he has a gun, a taser, a baton, a radio to call in backup. That's under a threat. That's called aggravated assault. Right there, he's already done that. And if he grabs a hold of you, that would be a battery. The physical part is the battery. Okay? So right there, he's already committed a pretty, that's a crime in common law. You can go to jail for that. So officers, I highly recommend you really learn this law.
But if the people that are putting them in jail part of the system, how is that going to happen?
This is where we empower the officers as well and the sheriffs, with this knowledge, because when they find out that they're in part of the system and they had good moral integrity, it's up to them to make a change. Are you with the people or against the people? Because your own sons and daughters and wives and families, houses and cars, you know somebody. Every one of these officers, these sheriffs, everything, they all know somebody who's had a run-in with the justice system, the private, for-profit court system. That's where these judges, and they are all in it. They just didn't know what was going on because they've been brainwashed. They've just been indoctrinated, kept in the dark. And they think they're doing the right thing, but only because they haven't been taught.
Right, and most people, I'd say, have a moral integrity. As I would believe that most people are good people. They've just been brainwashed and conditioned to carry out laws that aren't real, that they don't actually realize. So once they realize what they're doing, people, I think they become a police officer because they want to help people.
Right,
That's
exactly.
the main intention why someone would become that. And once they start finding out about this will be a movement to get the police officers and the sheriffs and the people to have come back to their moral integrity and go back to, why did you become a police officer? Because you wanted to protect the rights of the people.
Right, exactly. So they get their power and direction, the police officers, policy officers, and sheriffs, they get it from the courts, the bar. Okay, and the bar here, we get into this and we're calling them out. And what did I mention earlier? Colorado Judicial Branch District Courts, the state of Colorado, which is all capitals, which is a corporation, and we call out their Dun and Bradstreet number. So you can look up the Dun and Bradstreet number, and you can actually find out, what the parent company is, and you can go in and look up the EIN numbers. You can find out the corporate officers. You can find out where their address is, and if you do a deep enough search, you can find out how much profit they're making. Okay, I don't do that.
So this is all public knowledge.
Public knowledge. Dun and Bradstreet, you can look it up. You have to look up the specific. Every state's a little different. They keep moving the cheese. So what you think in one state, I just look up the name of this court with all the caps names. It'll come up in the Dun and Bradstreet. But what they've done now is they'll go to a judicial over here. They'll change to doing business as. So they keep moving stuff around. You kind of have to do a little bit of research, but it's there. Okay, they do some trickery. They hide it because they know they're a corporation. They know they're a corporation. This isn't, like, oh, I made a mistake. No, it's for real. So the writ of quo warranto is asking them to prove their authority. What authority? Did we give them the authority to do this? Now, nobody did. Okay, so that's called. This is insurrection, rebellion, domestic violence on the people. Bottom line, it's treason. Okay, so we're going to notify them of they're doing treasonous acts because I just laid it out in this document. If you can't prove that you have the authority, you're committing acts of treason. And you're doing it. And now what we do down here is we call out some criminal codes, and you'll see some things, color of law, 18 U.S.C. 242, color of official right, which is 18 U.S.C. 1951. There's another one. What I want to get to is this one. If they don't respond within 10 days, business days, then they are admitting that they are committing these crimes. So after 10 days, they're admitting they are committing these crimes. Now, let me point out that The one I want to point out here is really interesting. This one right here. Impersonating government officials. Now, if you recall, I've been using the term impersonating on purpose. The reason why I'm using impersonating is because the judge is saying, hey, I'm a judge. And I took an oath, you know, to the Constitution, whatever, right? DA says that too, and he's a bar attorney, right? Now, impersonating a government official is 10 U.S.C. subsection 906A3. And in that code, impersonating a government official, you go direct to a court-martial. And that's without two witnesses. If you had two witnesses of the same overt act, that's treason. You go direct to a court-martial. Okay? We've been overtaken. We have been infiltrated. America and a lot of the world has been. The corporation has taken over, and they've done it through the banking system, who are protected by the bar, the British Accredited Registry. And when they write the laws and they took over the judicial system, we are infiltrated. We are under occupation. So if we're under occupation, because like you say, I'm not getting any justice, how am I going to get justice? You know, I say, Mr. Police Officer, you gave me a speeding ticket and it's not lawful, and the police officer goes, ha 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 ha, ha, take it or I'm going to throw you in jail, because he thinks he's doing the right thing. Then he goes into court, you take it into the court and you want to show him the law. No, the police officer's wrong. Look, you're wrong. And the judge goes, no, you're wrong. What? What do you mean I'm wrong? I got the law right here. And he goes, nope, you got to pay this. Now you got to pay more fines and more fees. And you're going, well, how did I lose? Because they're protected by the court system. They're protected by the bar. That's like the number one enemy we can go after when we get exposed. Okay? We can expose it, and it's about the eyes. We get everybody to start looking at this, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and this is global. This is how they empower the CPS, Child Protective Services. There's an acronym, another way to say that, but it's a child trafficking. They break families apart, they take the children, and then they're protected by the court, who give a warrant to the sheriffs and the police, who go out and steal the kids. And what are you going to do? You're going to fight them? No, they got men with guns. What are you going to do? And they think they're doing the right thing. I can break into your house, tear your house apart. I got a warrant from it's an unlawful warrant. They're protected by the bar, the court system. So what's really important here is in this writ of quo warranto, we call it out, we got all eyes on it, and we went to the Colorado Supreme Court because all other courts in that state go up to that. All other courts in that state go up to that. So all the sub-courts, inferior courts. So when you call it out on that level and they don't answer, all that collapses that whole corporation. All of them shut down. And what we're doing here, we don't have the enforcement here. So we the people, the military, the JAG, the Commander-in-Chief, have taken an oath. And their oath is under Article 4, Section 4, says insurrection, domestic violence, and rebellion, aiding and abetting, is treason, and they need to come in and guarantee us a Republican form of government, because this ain't a Republican form of government, and it's their duty to come in and remove these bad actors.
Are they not also making money on the side and also in cahoots with this whole operation and system?
Well, that's a really good question, and the answer is yes. If you look at really the power structure of this planet, it really was the Vatican, and I say was, a Vatican, and the City of London was a banking arm. The Vatican also was a banking arm, but it was spiritual as well. And then you had the City of London, call it the banking arm, and then you had Washington, D.C., which was the military.
So the three forms of control was the money in England, the military like gun force in America, Washington, and then the Vatican, which was the spiritual, religious. Those are the three forms of control. Right?
Three horns of the,
Right.
So three prongs. So they had us, with that. They're all, Washington, D.C. is 10 miles square, so it's not even part of America. Same thing with City of London, the Vatican. I think there's one.
They're their own.
Yeah,
they're
their
independent
own.
From the country.
Yeah, same thing with City of London. So, yes, the military was heavily infiltrated, and any good military officers there, a lot of them were removed during the Obama era. So then he got in, the right guys, right people, to be able to move forward with this collapses with the one world order. I mean, they were going for it. They were going for it. He had set it up big time. So anyways, there is some infighting. And the last few years here, there have been 190, I think, in that neighborhood, 190 of the military officers that have been removed. In other words, stepped down or retired or removed for misconduct or things like that. So the military is doing some cleaning house. Okay, so there definitely are some bad actors in the military and wherever. I've just said military to cover everything. But
so these 190 were actually moral integrity military that have been removed because they were messing up their plan.
The 190 that I'm saying actually would be the good guys removing the bad guys. So the 190 were removed, the bad guys were removed, okay, for misconduct. So you're seeing internal fighting in the military. So not everybody in the military is good. Because like you said, you had asked me the question, were the military part of this corporation? And the answer is yes.
But now there are people within the military that do have moral integrity that are now pushing back. And so because I have heard that, is it called the white hats, right? The white hats?
White hats, black hats, yeah.
Black hats. So there's people within the CIA, within the military, within these sort of corporations that are leaking information and also then uniting and taking these sort of corrupt people out.
Mm-hmm. And this is a global, I see it as a global operation. There's so much evidence of it now that I wouldn't, I don't think there's any denying it. I mean, first off, I've seen it in writing. Then you actually witness, holy moly, did you see what just happened over here? You see what happened over there? I'm just witnessing it all over the place. So the bad actors, they're removing the bad actors, and you got to think. This has been a war that's been going on for centuries, right? So the good guys had to do what they do, and it's called infiltration into the bad guys. So some of these guys, you might say, "Whoa, so and so is a bad guy. He was associating with them." Well, of course.
The only way is to go from within. You have to go within the system. You
got to make it. You got to work with it until you're ready to, make that chess move. So you've got to let them think. So you infiltrate the bad guys.
The highest powers.
The bad guys are infiltrating the good guys, and the good guys are infiltrating the bad guys. This is how war works. And then we've been going through some psychological warfare in a major way. We're at war. It's called psychological warfare. We're at war.
How are these good guys getting the 190 to step down if the court system is all rigged?
Military is a different animal. They have their own way of doing law. Now, what they did was they changed. When Trump got in office, before he got in office, they went and updated their law of war manual. Because the bad guys were actually making it so they could have the power, and then what happened is they came in and they started adding sections and changing sections, and don't ask me the exact sections. I looked at a few of them, so I get an overview because I wanted to move into what I could do.
So Trump changed it?
No. Well, exactly who wrote it, I don't know.
But it was when he was in office that these changes changed. Did it change back with the recent changeover with Biden, or?
No, Biden's not even. Yeah, he's president of the X corporation. There's a thing. We're getting a little off track here. I know a lot of information. Let's not get off. So let's stay away from politics. What we want to do is empower the people. That's what I want to do, empower the people.
It's empowering to know that there are good people and this is happening.
There are good people in the military, and you asked me a very important question. and that comes down to enforcement of this, in treason, and we don't have the, you and I can't do it because we're under occupation, right? We went through that whole occupation. It comes to the bar through the court system. The court system protects the counties, the court system protects the police and the sheriff, and the court system uses the police and the sheriff to their advantage to do their bidding. So if you are a good man in the sheriffs or the policy people, then what happens is you're being directed by the enemy to do their bidding. Okay, and that might not be a good thing. I mean, if I was a good guy and I turn around and wait a minute, I'm being directed by the British. I'm being told to harm people in America, to destroy my own country by these guys. Wait a minute, that would be a wake-up call for some of these people. Now, some of these people may not want to do it. These officers and sheriffs may not want to do anything because, again, it's their paycheck. So they're saying, well, gee, do I let my family starve, or do I, go out and with my other guys and arrest 50 people? Well, it's not my people. Well, that's fine, but if you look on how communist countries were taken over in the past, and this is exactly what's going on, is they'll use the police officers and the sheriffs and all of that to do that, but as soon as their usefulness is done, they're the next in line. They're the next in line. Their families, their houses, their paychecks, even themselves are the next in line. So don't be blind and say, well, I'm not going to do it because I want to have my paycheck. You're next. Check your history. That's what's done. As soon as they call it, I don't want to say this because people aren't idiots. They've just been ignorant, dumbed down. And to be used like that, if somebody did that to me, I would feel betrayed and it would piss me off.
Right, and these police officers that are doing this, their families are also going to have to go under the same regime that everyone else is going under. It's not like they're going to be exempt. Nope. Their families are also going to have to go through these communist dictatorship sort of living like they are in China. And I know that they don't want that for their families. So that's what it comes down to.
Yep. So what we've done here in the writ of quo warranto is we're calling out that whole judicial establishment in the bar in Colorado. And when we conclude this, what we're doing is we're doing it lawfully, and we actually notify General David H. Berger. He's a USMC, it's United States Marine Corps. He's retired. He is the political liaison for the Commander-in-Chief, Donald J. Trump, because Trump is the Commander-in-Chief or a wartime president. I'm not going to discuss that here, and I won't argue about it. It is what it is. Now, we've also copied JAG. That is the Judge Advocate General. That's the United States Navy Judge Advocate General's office. That's like the law arm of the Navy. And the Navy is very important because the Commander-in-Chief is, the chief is, commander is the Army, and the chief is Navy. So that's very important, and actually Navy was very powerful back in our history. Getting a little off track. But that is to Vice Admiral Darcy E. Crandall Jr. or his successor. So we are notifying them. We are notifying the military and giving them all the lawful evidence that this whole system, corrupt system, is a bar system. They have no authority, and they need to be dealt with because they are committing acts of treason. Now, we've also notified the Scott S. Harris, doing business as the clerk of the court for the United States Supreme Court, Dunn's number. And the reason why we do that is because United States Supreme Court is all capitals, because what we think is our United States Supreme Court is actually a corporation. But we're notifying them anyway to say, hey, if there's something wrong with what we're doing, it's, you guys better take a look at it and get back to us. So these people that we are notifying here, giving a true copy, is to say if there's nothing wrong with this, then we're going to move forward with the next notice that we're going to do. Remember, when we do something, biblical law, the Bible is actual law. I'm not that great at it, but you want to notice somebody 3 times. And it's spiritual law. If you trespass me, you might have done it by accident, right? So I say, hey, look, Tess, I think that's my pen. Could you give it back, right? Say, sure, you give it back to me. No problem. First notice, right? First notice, I say, look, Tess, I think that's my pen. Do you mind give it back? And you say, no. I say, look, Tess, that's my pen. I have the receipt right here. I have an affidavit that says it's my pen. Please give it back to me, because if you don't, you're going to be committing a crime called a theft, stealing from me. And you say, screw you, it's my pen. And I go, well, that's the 3rd notice I gave you. Now it's a judgment. I notified you. I tried to handle it man to man, woman to woman. Man to man is just saying, hey, I notified you. You rejected it. The second time I'm doing it in writing. I'm saying, okay, here it is, giving you the evidence, it's mine. If you don't give me it back, and you don't rebut with something that says that it is yours, if you don't provide me evidence that says you have the receipt for it, and under affidavit, under truth of like a penalty of the general laws, basically like perjury, 5 years of your life you're putting up. That's why you use truth. Then you agree that it is my pen, and the last notice I give you is a judgment. Why can I give you a judgment? We the people, it goes to the Creator with all of our rights. We the people, this is a republic. I am an entity unto myself, a king or a queen, and I have my own court that I'm bringing to you. My court to your court. I'm saying, you made an error, fix it. And you don't want to. And then I give you another opportunity and say, you made an error, here's the proof and the evidence that it is mine. If it's wrong, rebut. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm open to it. Show me that I'm wrong. And you don't, then you're saying, well, now you're proving criminal intent. You intentionally you intended to do me harm, cause me injury. You had that intention to cause me injury, to trespass on my rights. So the last document I send you is called a judgment, because I am the judge. I am the king of my own court, and I'm sending that to you. Now it's done. Now not only do you owe me the pen, but you owe me all the injury and heartache and time that I had to put this together to bring it forth. Now it's up to me to say how much you owe me, whether it's money, or I'm going to say, hey, well, you got to come over and dig the trench in my backyard. I need an outhouse out there. Matter of fact, move my outhouse out there. All right. So,
right.
Anyhow, so that brings us, wraps us up with the quo warranto. It's really, we are also notifying the military to come in and do their job. We're giving them all the evidence that they need to do their job. Will they come in and do it? They could do it under the cover of night, and I would never know. They could come in and arrest these judges. I wouldn't know. They don't need to tell me. They're doing their job under Article 4, Section 4. And they say, okay, they come in and do it. Why would they want to come in and shut down a whole state and then put everybody on guard? Big presence of the military, everybody's going to be terrified, right? Why would you want to do that? It would be better if I used to be a project engineer and, strategist. I go, well, I would want to do it on the down low. That way I don't alarm the public, and I don't have to worry about making sure the public doesn't, have problems. They all have guns. We don't want them fighting each other. We don't want them to harm themselves and do something irrational where they may not have all the facts, right? So maybe they do remove people in the quiet and you don't know about it. I know that some of the paperwork that we've been doing here in this county, judges have stepped down, clerk courts are playing musical chairs around the courts around here, defense attorneys, we don't know where they are now. Just saying, and other people, I've heard some similar stories where they just can't find these people anymore. I don't know where they went. They're no longer there. You see? So maybe this is going on. I don't have factual first-hand evidence of that, so I can't tell you it is for a fact, because I'm not first-hand knowledge of it. But I have seen this happen here, and I've heard it from my friends, so perhaps they're doing something that rather than making a big fanfare of it and Maybe these things are occurring. In my opinion, they are. Okay, I'll give you my opinion. It's not a fact.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, isn't it?
It's very exciting. And also, you said that's your opinion, but we do actually have factual evidence of many CEOs of corporations stepping down, many judges, we have seen evidence of that, of, like you said, 190 people in the military stepping down. So it's very exciting for people watching this. Feel that excitement, the hope. The tide is turning in our favor. There is a growing movement happening. Like, people are finding out what their rights are. People are getting called out for it. We, the people, are taking our power back. We are reclaiming our rights as we, the people. And I'm very excited to be here educating people about this.
And we're educating people that empowers the people. Now, we're taking it one step further. We're actually, our website's not quite up yet. It's, I think, another 9 days it'll be ready to launch. But we're going to be providing simple notices that the people can use and fill out, and they'll be available on our website. So livinglawsociety.org. And then if you want more information too, you can go to the People's Operation Restoration.com. They're doing some great stuff, globally as well. So we're teamed up together. We're all working together here, moving all these movements forward, bringing all this into the light. Okay, so we're working with a lot of people behind the scenes, and a lot of people are doing some fantastic stuff out there. Now, I might not agree with some of the stuff that other people are doing, but it doesn't matter. What matters is the intention and the awakening and the knowledge and getting it out there and raising the consciousness, raising that vibration, and putting all eyes on this. So we will have tools on the website, livinglawsociety.org. We will have that where you can go up and fill out some of these forms and start sending notices, because it's the paper arrows that bring down this dragon. It's the paper arrows that bring down this dragon. So it's all those eyes on there, it's the paper arrows, and if we do that, you don't have to have this level of expertise in the law that we're doing here, but the notices themselves. Imagine this Chief Justice receiving 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 notices, 1 million notices. How is he going to deal with that? And when people start sitting in a courtroom and they go, wait a minute, I know the Constitution now, I know this, and I just saw you enter a plea for somebody who didn't want to plea. He says, I'm not going to enter a plea. Well, I'm going to enter a plea for you, not guilty. Wait a minute, I didn't enter a plea. How can you enter a plea for me? The judge is doing this in cases. The judge is denying assistance of counsel. So when you start to comprehend these laws, you can call out to treason. And that's really important. Even if you don't know how to write it or this, that, and the other, you start to go, oh, wait a minute, that's treason. Wait a minute, this law says you can't do that, and you're supposed to have an oath. Wait a minute, and you don't have an oath in your corporation? Well, that's treason. This is what we need to get the knowledge. So really, I want to wrap up with that.
Right, and the last thing I want to say is, anyone watching this, if you resonate with this, if you want to take your power back, share this video with as many people as possible. We want to share this knowledge. We want everybody to know their rights. We want everybody to take their power back. We want you to get these notices, start calling it out, because it's a spiritual war. It's a war on consciousness, and this education is providing us with that power of consciousness to know our rights, to know how powerful we are. We, the people, have the power, and this is how we take our power back. So please share this as far and wide as possible so that we can get the numbers and we can do this and we can take back the power for we, the people. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, thank you, Tess, so much. God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. God bless.